So thank you everyone for coming for today's session. First of all, uh, so first we will be starting with Mythbusters. This topic is about the myths and facts which revolve around cybersecurity field. Okay, before I start the first part of this session, I would request all of you to check the chat of Telegram group. Basically, for the second part of this session, you might require some of the files that are given in the video in Telegram. So please check it out so that you don't miss out on the fruitful second part of this session. So, okay, then we'll be starting this part of the session. So, as I told earlier, this part of the session is about the myths and the facts which revolve around cybersecurity. Whenever you hear about cybersecurity, there are always some weird things that you come to hear, right? Yeah, that's generally what we see in movies, like a person in a hoodie just hacking through something like that. One second. Okay, my bad. Yeah. So, what in general we see in media is a person in a hoodie just hacking and just sitting on his computer, typing away and hacking through the most secured of the servers out there, which is, of course, a very basic myth that has been told across all the media out there. It just sounds silly, but actually, that's what most people think cybersecurity people actually do. So, what is, yeah, I've already talked about the goal of this session. It's about bunking some common myths around cybersecurity. Okay, before we start out with this session, let's do a quick short puzzle, right? So, everyone is requested to just go through this puzzle and type the solution that which they think is correct in the chat of this meet.
All of you guys can type in the chat if you know, get the answer.
Okay, Devesh has answered. Guys, let's be a little bit
Yeah,
interactive. We think of it as a fun session. We are not teaching you anything. We are just gonna learn together.
yeah, yeah. True, true. It's just some myths and facts. So, if you people have actually come across a very weird myth or which you are curious about is true or not, you can always either say that in chat or just say it in mic or something, and we will be happy to debunk if it is a myth and actually talk about it if it's actual fact.
Lots of answers are coming in right now. Well done.
Yeah, well, the answer was quite easy, I guess. Secure it.
Yeah, I think we should
As
keep it a little hard next time.
yeah, I guess. Okay, then we will move on towards the our first myth, which is a strong password is enough to keep your business safe. Whenever we come across any online platform, the first thing which we have to go through is making a strong password. But is it really true that a strong password is enough to make your account safe? No, that's not true. That's why there is a very new common thing that is going across in the platforms, which is called two-factor authentication. It is just one of the multi-factor authentication protocols that have been made famous. So how it works? So in general, you might have seen this in Google or maybe sometimes in GitHub if you have actually enabled it. So when we write the password, it will send a OTP on your mobile phone. This works for Telegram as well and WhatsApp as well, I guess. So when you approve that OTP or type the OTP in the device you are logging in, then only will you be able to sign in. A certain thing about this is very interesting that using multi-factor authentication blocks about the 99.9% of automated account hacks. Quite amazing, right? Even though we just generally think about strong password and don't actually enable two-factor authentication on most of the websites, it is it makes it even more susceptible to different types of hacks and stuff. So according to Microsoft data, and of course you might know already, Microsoft is a very big company, so it has about 30 billion login events per day. And according to it, only 11% of enterprise accounts use multi-factor authentication. Now again, two-factor authentication is just one type of multi-factor. Multi-factor means not only the password, but another form of authentication will also be used, which in the case of two-factor authentication is the OTP on your mobile.
Recording is on.
Okay, let's go on to the next myth. Yeah, this is a very common one. Antivirus and anti-malware software keeps you completely safe. Whenever we just buy a new device, we the first thing which we get is the free trial of a antivirus. Most of the people think, yeah,
Recording is on.
you have been given spam mails or links that you just click away, and in the hoax website when you write your password is gone, right? That's just one type of social engineering. It could be spams or phishing mails, anything like that. Those are social engineering tactics. And not only that, when the antivirus is actually launched, that's called the 0 day. When a software is newly launched, what happens that it doesn't have that much experience. So not all of the modifications have been made in it. So it's still very susceptible to hacking. Then there is polymorphic malware. I will give you a little glimpse of it. Polymorphic malware are the types of files or malware which changes its form again and again. So it becomes difficult for all the antivirus softwares out there to recognize it as a foreign file or malware. Okay, going on to the next one. Cybersecurity threats come from outside. Yeah, it's a myth, but it's true for the most part. What is interesting is the counterpart of it, the insiders. According to cybersecurity insider report, about 31% of the breaches in 2023 were from insider threats. Now, what are insider threats? You might be wondering, right? Acha, guys, tell me if the session is going too fast or anything like that. So we will just moderate the pace for you. Okay then, going back to it. What are insiders? In a company,
Guys, you can check out the polls. There are some polls in the chat section. You can go to the chat section and you can see polls and vote there if you want to. So the current poll is about whether incognito and private browsing mode guarantees anonymity and shields your online activity from prying eyes. So give your answers. If it's true, like press true. If it's false, then press false. 95% people are saying currently it's false. So keep your votes coming in.
Home, are you connected? Yeah, okay.
So 44 votes have been in the favor of false, which is the right answer. We all know that like our IP providers can always see our like activity, what activity we are doing online. So that's the correct answer.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes,
Omkar.
Yes,
you
Om,
so true. Incognito actually doesn't make you that much safe. So next time you are thinking of some private, special, secretive browsing, please do consider using VPN or such. Don't just rely on incognito because it's not actually safe. Yeah. Okay. So coming back to the fact, I will just go on to the myth once again to point it out once again. So cybersecurity threats come from the outside majorly. That's not entirely true. According to the Cybersecurity Insiders report, 31% of data breaches in 2023 resulted from insider threats. So, what are insiders? Basically, when you go into a company and it gets hacked, there are two possible ways that could have been done. Either from a foreign person or group, that's called outsider threat, or from a person within the company itself, those are called insiders. So insiders are people working in the same group. Now the insider threat can either be intentional, like people maybe getting revenge or on the company. Yeah, it happens sometimes, right? Okay, so it can be intentional or unintentional. It can be people who actually want have some sort of malice towards their own company, or it can be unintentional. For example, we always have that dumb friend, right, who just paste his password into some suspicious websites, or just doesn't take that much care of his security and stuff, right? By the way, in my group, that's me. So we always have that dumb friend, and since he is not doing it out of malice, that's unintentional, but still he is an insider threat. So the average global cost of these insider threats amounted to about $8.76 million. That is related to reputational damage, legal issues, and data loss. I think the most significant one of this is data loss, since data is what is driving today's society over the internet and as a whole. Okay, before we go on further, I would like to take any questions that come to your people's mind. Please do tell us either in the chat or just using your mic. We'll be happy to take your questions.
If any of you guys have any questions for Om, he can answer. You can just type it in the chat or maybe use your mic to ask him. It's a fun session as we told, so you don't need to hesitate about it. Any question you have related to the session, you can ask him.
Well, while you people are maybe typing your message in the chat, we'll go to the interesting poll that is going on in the chat. What is the main benefit of using a VPN? And most of the people who have polled is option A, that VPN encrypts your internet traffic and tracks your IP address. Sorry, hides. My bad. So, yeah, that's true. That's the most significant feature of a VPN. Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. Why internet speed becomes slow while using VPN? Well, you see, what VPN is doing is actually changing your IP address to some foreign address. So the way internet works is it's that then redirected from yours, like your request goes to that foreign address, then it goes to the internet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I think, that's the major reason why your internet speed becomes slow while using VPN, since it's getting redirected to the hoax IP address. It's not actually hoax, but still, the IP address which is set by the VPN, then it comes back to yours. That's the reason. Any more doubts? Otherwise, we can always continue this session. By the way, I would take this moment to actually point this out again. There is a video on our Telegram group which is about the second part of our session. It will be very fruitful for you people to actually go through that video while this part of the session is going on. If this part doesn't seem that much interesting, I must tell you that second part is even more interesting than this part. Okay, so going on to the next myth. I guess it's puzzle time again. So this is a C programming puzzle. Please tell what will be the password. Also, I think there is one more guy who has a question. Please.
Whoever gets the answer, you guys can type it in the chat or maybe raise your hand so you can answer it by your mics. So I guess all of you might have studied C programming in the first, and that's what I'm guessing by now. So even if you don't know, you can just try by like looking at the clue and trying to answer it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, true. It's not that hard. And most of the people who have known a little bit of C, I think they must be able to go through this question and solve it.
Prathamesh is saying in the chat that he didn't attend classes, so that's fine.
So once given an answer, let's see how it is.
Yeah.
Suman
Suvan,
has given an answer. Amog has given an answer. Good, guys, good.
good, good. Okay,
Whatever you
so
get, whatever you get as an answer,
okay, we will wait 1 more minute for people to write. Okay, then most of the people have written the correct answer, and the answer is C. Philo. Now, how this? I think this should be somewhat obvious, and since most of the people who have written the answer is correct, still, uh, I will just go through it once again for just convenience. So here it is a password array, a character array, and it's made. So this is actually now a string, but you can just consider it a password character array. Now base stores C character, and M is given 0. Now this for loop goes from 0 till 5, and it increments. It has a pre-increment. So before it iterates, 0 becomes 1. Now M is added to base, and it is stored in password again. So since the first element of this character array is C, then when we add 3 on it, it becomes F. So the second element becomes F. Now when 3 is added again, since it is going in a loop, the third element becomes I, fourth becomes L, and the last one becomes O. Hence, the answer C. Philo. Okay, now we'll be going to the next myth. Any questions? Okay, the next myth is you will know right away if your computer is infected. Now, this is a very widespread myth. What most of the people think is whenever they get infected by any virus or malware, their antivirus will tell them right away. That's not true at all. And also, antivirus antivirus nowadays are made like this, that whenever any kind of connection is made or it is tried, what happens is then it stores those connections and shows it to the person using that antivirus that we have stopped this many of the connections or viruses or threats, which gives you a false sense of security. So, what is the fact? Modern malware is stealthy and hard to detect. That is very true. There are many ways a person can be hacked. Again, social engineering is one of the reasons, like one of the things which bypasses antiviruses and such things when you are not actually cyber educated, when you don't actually know the security regulations and you get easily tempted by the words of person whom you don't actually know. One more thing. There is something called a botnet. Has anyone heard about a botnet? You can type it Type it in the chat. Just give a
Some
one
people are
sentence
messaging.
definition.
They have uploaded. Aditya has said it's a collection of infected computers.
Yep, that's true. Botnet is a connection on network of infected computers. One of the major ways a botnet is used is for using DDoS attacks on any website or server. Now, what happens when you become a part of botnet? You're called a zombie, your server or your computer will be called a zombie net computer or node. So you wouldn't even know that you are actually sending any messages to any server. Now, how DDoS works is nothing but it sends when I will tell you first about DOS attacks. So it's just a glimpse to so that you can know more about botnets. We will go on in the further details in future sessions about it. So DOS is nothing but sending messages to a server from a computer multiples and multiples of times so that they stop working. And how DDoS works, distributed denial of service, is when you send a lot of messages to various different computers. So it's like sending mail to one house by different mail addresses and lots of messages so that it gets flooded by messages and they are actually not able to work. So that's what botnet actually. What generally happens in botnet is they make tons of zombie computers, and when that happens, you won't even know that you have been infected, and your computer will be targeting some other server. In this case, you will be called the secondary victim, since the primary victim will be the server itself, which is getting DDoS. And that's not all. Botnets are used for various other stuff too. But that's one of the examples how you wouldn't even know and you would have become a victim. Okay, we'll go on to the next myth. If Wi-Fi has a password, it's secure. Again, a very widespread myth. Very widespread myth. What generally happens is whenever we go to any public areas and we connect to that Wi-Fi, and then we think, okay, this has a password, so it must be secure, right? You go to a cafe, or some people even use the Wi-Fi on stations, even though it doesn't even have a proper password. So what we think is it's secure, but that's not true at all. Now the fact around this is it is all public Wi-Fi's can be compromised even without password. So even if a public Wi-Fi has a password, you must be cautious around it. You must make sure that it is a reliable source and not too many people have access to that pass to Wi-Fi. Some interesting facts about this fact. It's yeah. Some interesting facts about this topic. Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi is a convenient way to access the internet. Of course, we all know. So that's why hackers actually use various methods to steal the passwords and other sensitive data when you connect to a public network. Just consider this. You are connected to a public network, and when its password has been cracked by a hacker, now he has connection to all those people who are connected to that public Wi-Fi. So that's a lot of victims, right? In 2023, a hacker group called Dark Hotel targeted business travelers in luxury hotels across Asia. They used fake Wi-Fi networks and phishing emails to trick guests into downloading malware that stole their passwords. This is an example. People can easily make fake Wi-Fi. You just have to go to that famous public area and name your Wi-Fi something. For example, here for business travelers in luxury hotels, you just have to name your Wi-Fi as luxury hotel, or for example, if the luxury hotel's name is hotel. Okay, so if the hotel's name is hotel, you just need to name your Wi-Fi as hotel guest Wi-Fi. Then people will think that you are the public Wi-Fi of this that particular hotel, right? And when you connect to that Wi-Fi, boom, you have been compromised. And not only you, all the people who have been connected to that Wi-Fi are now susceptible to crime, like becoming victims of that crime. In 2022, a cyber criminal named Alexei Belen hacked into the Wi-Fi network of a Barnes and Noble bookstore in New York. He installed the device that captured the passwords of customers who used the Wi-Fi to log into their email and social media accounts. Another example, it's very easy to compromise public Wi-Fi. That's why it's always advised, even in blogs, in news, it is always said that whenever you go to a public area, do not connect to the public Wi-Fi since they are very susceptible to crime. There is another example. A researcher named Sami Kamkar demonstrated a device called Poison Tap that could hijack any computer connected to a public Wi-Fi hotspot. And these are just one of many examples, guys. So please, next time you go to a public area, do not connect to the public Wi-Fi. I mean, recharging your Wi-Fi and actually using your own is much more worth it, bro. Like, if you are actually hacked, then all of your data will be gone, and they will have access to your Gmails, your any public or personal profiles that out there, right? It's possible. It doesn't happen all the time, but it is very possible. Okay, so Dhawan is asking one question: is our hostel Wi-Fi safe? Yes, Dhawan. Our hostel Wi-Fi is comparatively safe. What have if you have connected your hostel Wi-Fi? What you might have checked is, first thing first. You're talking about the hostel Wi-Fi of Aryabhatta and stuff like that, right? Aryabhatta, Freshers Block, or NNRI, right? Okay, so when you actually connect to that hostel Wi-Fi, you must have been given a coupon type of thing, right? Which in which you logged in, then you made your password. Yeah, that's what. So that makes it that makes it relatively safer to any public Wi-Fi. What you must have gone to maybe trains, right? Train stations, right? So train stations, the Wi-Fi there doesn't require anything like that. No logins and all. So it's very susceptible. But at this point, when you are in a hostel, you when you log in, you are given your own bandwidth quota, and you are given your own share of that Wi-Fi. That's why it's comparatively safe. Now, some simple tips to prevent cyber attacks. Just whenever you're contacted by a suspicious guy, please make sure you actually see all those stuff. When you are going to suspicious website, please check what permissions it's asking you. No touching any suspicious buttons or pop-ups, and please do not go on a website which has tons of ads. Not only that, make sure that whenever you are typing your passwords, you hide your passwords, and you make sure that yeah, you use your fingerprint most of the time, because passwords other people can see, not your fingerprint. Okay, then this brings to conclusion. Thank you everyone for being with me, and hope this part of the session was interesting and you people had fun. Now, I will ask Aryaman to proceed to the next part of the session, which is about setting up your environment for cybersecurity. Please, Aryaman.
So, hello everyone. It was kind of boring, right? Do you all agree? Okay, okay. So, yeah. Swam, can you start presenting? Yeah.
Yes,
Just the theory part without actually going into what we feel is the fancy hacker thing. It feels a little boring, just the concepts. But we'll soon get into it.
Can you guys see the PPT? Can you let me know?
yes, Swam, we can see it.
So, hello everyone, welcome to the second chapter of this session. My name is Swayam Rao, and I will help you guys with setting up your own hacking lab. Yeah, this might sound crazy because it actually is, like creating a own hacking lab within your computer. This might sound crazy, yeah. So now before we jump into the fun part, let's understand some concepts so that we can completely understand about the magical thing that's happening about virtualization and virtual machines. Trust me, it is magical. So let's jump into some of the concepts. Before we jump into concepts, I will introduce you to this chapter of the session. So you might have a question related to getting started and all. So this is where we will help you guys, and this is the starting point for everyone. Like if you're beginning in cybersecurity, this is where everyone would suggest you to start. So let's jump into some of the concepts real quick. So what actually is virtualization? Virtualization basically, like you can create your own virtual based real life computer resource. They can be server, they can be storage, etc, etc. This might sound a bit, like untrue or something like that, but it actually is very helpful. Even if you don't go into the cybersecurity stuff, even if you take IT job, it will be very helpful for you in the future. Now another topic comes into the virtualization, that is virtual machine. So what actually is virtual machine? Virtual machine, you can basically they are machine which are created in your own computer, which have kind of same property as your main machine, but have some additional options and advantages too. About that additional advantages we'll be discussing soon. So let's first understand how this virtual machine actually works. So basically, you might be seeing this physical resources, which is CPU, RAM, etc., etc. And there's something called as hypervisor. Hypervisor is another fancy name for application. Uh, we will be talking about hypervisor soon. So what this hypervisor does is this will create some virtual physical resources by borrowing those physical resources from your own computer and then allocating it to the virtual machines. Does it make sense? This is another view of pictorial view of virtualization. So now we'll see how to install virtualization software. There are actually many software available, but two of the software which are very famous and widely used are VMware and Oracle VirtualBox. This would be highly recommended because they both are very simple to use, very user friendly, and they have a lot of variety of additional options that you can use. So now comes the part of downloading image. Before that, what actually is an image? Now you might have seen the videos that we sent you about downloading the images and hypervisor. If you haven't, please check it out first, because we have told completely regarding the installation. So check it out first. So what image is? It's a pre-configured operating system that you can use to create virtual machines. Basically, you don't have to do anything. That's a basic spoon feeding that is given to you. So an simple analogy is cup noodles. I know. Trust me, it might make sense. So if you buy a cup noodle, just one thing you have to do: pour hot water into it. No need to put masala and all. So similar to that is downloading image. Nothing you have to do. You have to just add your image into the hypervisor. Then you are good to go, and you are ready to start your hacking journey. So importing VM, which is virtual machine, into virtualization platform. This will be demonstrated to you by my friend Ariman. So Ariman, can you demonstrate it?
Yeah. So I'm sure most of you haven't seen the video, but anyways, I'll play it again for you guys. And just tell me if it's clear, or else I'll directly show it. Okay, so what we do first, you need you need to download two. There are two parts to it. First, you download the virtual box, the virtual machine VMware, on which you'll download several other operating systems. So any order is fine, but yeah. So first, we'll download the Kali Linux image for our virtual box. So you can use virtual machine or installer image. It doesn't matter much in the beginning. Later on stages, it depends. But yeah. So here first we'll take the recommended one, installer 64-bit. Yeah. So when we are installing this, mm, uh, we need to configure our system for it as well. That we'll be explaining later. Anyways, just give it a name. This could take some time as the download. You're literally downloading an operating system. It will take time, but yeah. No. You go to the VirtualBox website. Yeah, Aditya, we'll explain that as well. But let's see this. Mohit, yeah, unmute yourself. You can speak. We'll continue this. No issue, Mohit. Give me a second, guys. There's some issue.
Sorry, seems like there's a issue. We will continue in 1 to 2 minutes.
I can, I guess we can take the questions from the chat. Shreya is asking something about the role of virtual machines. So, Om or Swam, you can answer that, I guess.
Okay, I think my screen's back on. Yeah. So after you've installed the virtual machine, there'll be a wizard. And share to your question, after this video, we'll explain about its importance. Now, once you've set up your machine, what you're going to do is configure the settings for your virtual machine that you set up. So, you're going to load up your VMware. Then there'll be a box where you can add machines. This is basically a virtual machine. So everything you have in you do on your operating system, this is like another template where you set it up. So I guess I'll explain this in a different way. Yeah, so guys, I was getting an issue that the video quality wasn't that good, so I'll display it directly. So once you've installed your VMware, what you are going to do is you're going to add a machine. Click over here. This one is clear, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you click on add machine. After adding, you are going to go to that location where you have kept your image. You're going to go to the image location and directly download it from there. Wait 1 sec. You're going to take the Kali VirtualBox machine, open that. Wait. So my bad. I meant to say new machine. You give it a name, and let's say I've given it Kali 2.
Guys, in case you have any doubts after this demonstration, you all guys can refer to the shared reference video about the same, and we'll be answering the questions in the chat box shortly.
Uh, until Ariman comes, I'll answer a few of the questions that you have asked. So Shreya has asked, can you please explain again what exactly is role of virtual machines? I wasn't able to understand. So basically, virtual machines are consider it as a fake machine that is on top of your original machine. So while learning, you might come across like you might want to learn many OS at once. For example, you might need to learn Mac OS, you might need to learn Kali, etc., etc. In that case, you can use virtual machines as they won't uh, as they won't affect your original machine, and they will be working as an individual machine. And regarding the question of Aditya SK, I think it's easier to use WSL. The only concern with that is while building a hacking lab, you also need a victim machine, which will be in an isolated network so that no one can access to that victim machine, as that victim machine will be having many vulnerabilities which are easier to exploit for beginners. So if it comes in the outer network, it will be easy to exploit for the other people who are not authorized to access that. So I hope I cleared your doubts. If you have any doubts, let me know.
Adding to Swayam's point, one more thing that VM is actually advantageous for is when we use a VM and some bad thing happens to your machine. For example, some breaches have made, some like features or options have gone wrong. You can always easily restart a VM, right? So that's where it's advantageous. If you are working on your main system and some bad thing happens, some breaches have been made, then it will be very bothersome for you to reconfigure it, which becomes considerably, no, not even considerably, it becomes very easy for you to start over with your VM rather than your main system.
Now my system is working. So yeah, where were we? After we've installed our virtual box, you are going to click over here on new. In the new machine now, they'll be asking what all do you want to set up. So first, let's put the name whatever I'm going to put Kali 2 as I've already installed mine before. Over here, type, this is going to be Linux operating system, and version is going to be Debian 64-bit. Now, ISO image. If you remember, we went to kali.org website. Over there, we installed the ISO image of this. So we are going to select that. And everything should be fine now. We are going to click on next. Base memory 2048 MB is in general fine. Processors you can set up to 2 to 4. That's recommended. I generally keep mine at 3. What have I kept before? Yeah. Keep clicking on next. Virtual hard disk. You need at least 20 GB. Try to specify for it. This is optimal for having all the tools and if you're going to use this even further. And just click on next. You'll get a summary. You finish up. Now this is our second machine that we have set up. Now what you have to do is go to settings. Just our storage, our okay, I think it's done. Yeah, in general over here in controller ID also you are supposed to give a drive, so it is set up. We can now then start it and the system should run. Yeah, now is one sec. Once you power up the machine, it will ask for which kind of install do you want. You can click on graphic install and it'll start. Just click on every setting that you need. You're basically installing your system. Continue. Select your location, India. Anyways, we've explained the basic part. The things to do after that, you can continue, but it'll take a lot of time. So let's continue with our session. Swam, I think you can explain what about networks.
Fine. I'll go ahead with the networking settings. Uh, so now, while you will be configuring the VM, your virtual machine, you might come across the networking settings. What this networking setting basically means is how your virtual machine will be interconnected with each other. That is what it is. So basically, there are many options, but the most two famous ones are NAT mode and bridge adapter mode. What does NAT mode, like full form of NAT mode, is network address translation. Now let us understand why there is a difference between these two. So what this NAT mode does is it basically uh, creates an another network for your VMs which will be isolated, which means the other PCs which are in your real life, like for example phone, your laptop, etc., they cannot access that IP address which are present in your VM. So basically what it does is, I'll give you a pictorial view. Notice here the router's IP address is 10.10.10.190. I shouldn't say 190.190, but the IP address of the virtual machines are 192.168.122.210. Now you might ask, what is the difference between them? So basically, whatever devices which are connected under the router will be going through something called as subnet mask. Subnet masking we will be learning in the future sessions, so don't worry about it. Now you might clearly see a difference between the IP addresses of both the virtual machine and the router. So what this means, the host server or the router, when devices connected to it try to access the virtual machine, they wouldn't be able to access the virtual machine because they don't really exist in the network. And now you might have a question, how would internet flow through the virtual machines? So for this, the our hypervisor acts as a router for these both virtual machines. So this is how it works. And let's switch to bridge adapter mode now. Now you might have guessed what bridge adapter actually does. So I'll uh, explain it to you in a pictorial view. Now you can notice here too, the router's IP is 10.10.10.190, while the virtual machines IP are 10.10.10.4 and 10.10.10.5 respectively. Now, the thing here which is different from NAT mode is whatever devices which are connected to your virtual, which will be connected to your switch or router, can access the virtual machines because they now have a real IP address which is connected to the router directly. So now you might ask why this difference is there. So this difference is basically, if you're starting into hacking, you might need a vulnerable machine which already has pre-existing exploits, so that you can learn and try to understand more about the commands, terminals, etc. And for that reason, what people what there's actually a framework called Metasploit, which we'll be learning in the future sessions too. It's a framework. So they have created something called as Metasploitable. You can search for it. So what Metasploitable does, like what it has is, they have pre-existing exploits that you can use to, like get control to the system, to the Metasploitable, etc., etc. So if it comes in the real world network, many people can exploit it and get your servers down or something like that. Can get access to your own computer, your host machine. So this might be an attack vector for the people, if for the attackers, I mean, if you use a vulnerable machine in a bridge adapter mode. So it is suggested, if you are starting into hacking, please use NAT mode, because it will be a safe and isolated environment. So whatever you do won't harm anything other than your network. So now let's create a scenario. Now here comes the magic of virtual machines. Now for this reason, and for this reason, like for this, we need two machines. One will be attacker machine. You can use either Kali Linux or Parrot OS. Both works really fine. But many people use Kali Linux, so I also use Kali Linux. It is better, I guess. I don't know. And for the victim machine, you can use any machine which is available. Windows 10 also works. Metasploitable, that I have mentioned before, it also works. So you can download those images and try to work on it. We'll be doing this in future, but you can, under your curiosity, you can try it. This is how the pictorial view. This, see, the thing is, 192.168 is a IP address which is reserved. We'll be learning about this also in future, about IP addressing and all. So this is an isolated environment which consists of an attacker and victim machine. So whatever attacker machine does to the victim machine, and whatever happens to the victim machine, won't be affecting the network, basically what are the devices connected to your router. So it's a safe environment, so that you can learn about networking, about protocols, about understanding how this system works and how the protocols, etc., works. So now let's start hacking. I mean, now we have our own hacking lab. Now what we can do is, now that you have your own hacking lab, now you can go and explore the tools and work with the terminal of Kali Linux. To be frankly speaking, learning the terminal commands and all is very important, because in future there might be no many GUI applications, basically graphical user interface, sorry. So basically you won't be getting that, so you will have to work in the terminal. So it's better to learn the terminal commands, so that you can, get better in learning Kali Linux. And you can do something called as CTF, which is capture the flag, to get used to the environment of Kali Linux. You can use something called as burp suite. I don't know how to spell that, but it's a web exploitation app that you can use to intercept requests and all. Don't worry about it if you don't understand it. We'll be explaining in future. So it's your own curiosity. You can like explore all the applications and all. So now comes the another option that, as Aditya SK suggested, Windows subsystem for Linux. And for this, my friend Swapnil Rao will be explaining. So Swapnil.
Okay, by the time Swapnil is coming, let's address some of your doubts. So, what's the advantages of setting up a VM in Kali Linux? Could get resources from the web, right? Like Pico CTF. Good question, Pranay. Oh, okay, wait, Swapnil, I'll address it later.
Hello, I hope I'm audible. Hello.
Yes, Swapnil, you
Yes,
are audible.
Swapnil.
Yeah, okay. I apologize. It was like a last minute thing. So, I would like to demonstrate WSL like entire right from the installation to the usage. So, first of all, WSL would like the full Windows subsystem for Linux, and it's very simple to download it, like less than 5 minutes, and you'll be able to download the entire thing. All you have to do is you have to run this command over here, wsl hyphen install, right in your cmd, the command prompt window. So let's say you use the command. I have already installed this, so if I run this, it would already it would launch the default distro, which is ubuntu. So you guys could do it on your command prompt. In less than 5 minutes you'll be able to finish like downloading the entire thing. All you have to do is you have to run this command, and the default the one which will be installed by default is ubuntu. So you can download any other distribution. So like there's an entire list of distribution. So to know like what are the different distributions, you can I'll be using this command. Okay, my bad. So yeah, let's say because this is our topic of discussion, so let's say we are talking about Kali Linux. You could use the same command, which is like the WSL install, but you should add an extra parameter along with the name of D, along with the parameter D. So let's say we want Kali Linux, which is again already installed on my computer. So I would not be entering this. You should enter this command, wsl hyphen install hyphen d Kali Linux. So when you enter this, it will download this distro. So let's say you want something else. You could always use these names in the category of distro name. By the way, you'll have to use wsl hyphen install two times. The first time it will install the Windows, like it would grant the permission to the directories, and the second time it would install Ubuntu. So I'm doing this on Windows 11. I'm not sure if the same thing would apply for Windows 10. So like someone could let me know if they're facing issues when they're trying with Windows 10. So yeah, okay. I'll be proceeding. Once you use these commands, you'll be actually having it installed. Like that's all it is. It's less than 5 minutes. So once you do that, there are some basic commands. I will be sending this later on, but this includes all the commands that you actually need to know with respect to like shifting or stopping the running distro. So let's say I close the entire command prompt. There could be like the WSL could still be running. So to get to know whether it's like what are the different distros running, you need to use this command wsl list verbose. So let me demonstrate it. Instead of this command, now I will be pasting this command. So again, this will be sent, or actually let me send it in the chat right now so that it would help people who are doing it alongside. So I've sent it in the chat. People could like do it side by side if they want to. So when I do this, as you can see, it says Ubuntu is running with version 2, which means WSL version 2, which is the latest version. If you want to update your WSL, by the way, you should use the update option, which would be shown if you are not on WSL2. It would recommend you to use a certain command to update the WSL. So let's say you don't want Ubuntu to be running, then you need to use this command, which is the terminate option, WSL terminate along with the distro name. So distro name is, like I said, it depends which distro you're using. So let me WSL terminate. Ubuntu is running. So it says the operation is completed successfully. Now let me try listing it, and as you can see, give me a second. It's because the command prompt is open. You need to click type exit over here. I hadn't noticed that I hadn't typed exit. You need to type exit first, right from the entire Ubuntu. So let me close it and run it again. Yeah, so as you can see, because I closed that window, now both are stopped. Now, you might ask me, what if I want to run Kali Linux and not Ubuntu, and I want to change my default distro? So in that case, you can use this command, which is WSL set default distro name. Um, so you could change this to Ubuntu, or you could change this to Kali Linux, or whichever you want. So that next time when you open command prompt and type WSL, your default distro would be like it would start running. In which in like in my case, I've set it to Kali Linux. So as soon as I type WSL, as you can see, it would start running. So here, you could use like the normal commands. So other than this, one more thing is that you like that is just a tip, is that people might not know how to copy paste certain things. So let me show it. uh, okay, so let me move to, yeah, okay, let me create a folder right over here by changing directory to downloads, and let me create, yeah, let me type vi p1.c. So a lot of them are confused on how to copy paste in Linux, like WSL in the distro. So let's type anything. Like I'll start typing instead of the whole C program. So as you can see, if you do this and if you do control copy, it actually won't be copied. So to do like to combat this, you'll have to click on shift button and then you'll have to select the entire thing, and then you have to like click control copy so that it's copied to the clipboard. So I think that's that that's about it for WSL. I hope, like, I'll check if there are any other doubts. Okay, it would be better if you slowed down a bit. Um, all right, so like I don't know if which part I speeded up on.
Yes, whoever has any doubt in any part, we will
Yeah,
take
I
that part and
apologize. I
explain
wish
again.
I had seen the chat earlier.
Mohit, you can ask your doubt right now. If you have any problem with any part, you can ask him right now.
By the way, about the setting up of WSL, we will be pasting a video link for it too. So for future reference, you will be able to go to that video. But we are still open to any questions so that we can actually clear it out in real time.
Yeah, so like to summarize, I would like go a bit slow this time. To summarize, to install WSL, whichever distro you want, you need to use this command, which would by default install Ubuntu. So let's say someone else wants some other distro, then they could use this option from the website to list the names of all the distros available. And once they find the one which they like, they could use this command replacing distribution name along with the one that they want. Like in my case, I showed Kali Linux. Another person, it could be something else, Debian. It could be like different ones. Once that is done, you need to make sure that you do run the command 2 times when you're on Windows 11, because there could be an issue of the default distribution not being installed. So when you run it 2 times, what will happen is it will install the distro that you want. The only downside to this compared to virtual machine is, like, obviously they've already mentioned. And what are the advantages? One of the advantages is convenience. Like for example, for third semester students, we have our Unix shell programming laboratory exam. So using a VM which is pretty heavy on the computer, uh, I prefer this over that, because it's just command prompt which is available right on my computer. So I could open the file which I want, compare it, and then like learn or study. And then coming to the next part, which is how to run the WSL once it's installed. You need to use this command which runs the distribution which is set default. But let's say you want to set another distribution as default, you need to use this command replacing the distribution name with the name of the distribution that you want. In my case, it was Kali Linux, as I mentioned. What you have to do next is, let's say you have both Ubuntu and Kali Linux running. First, you have to type exit right in, like, let's say I have my command prompt here. I open PowerShell. I type WSL. So now I type exit, but however this could be running, there is a possibility. So to check that, you need to use this command WSL list verbose, which lists like everything, whichever is running and whichever is not running, as I mentioned already. um, WSL list verbose. So as you can see, Kali Linux is still running even though I typed exit. So to avoid that, you need to use WSL. um, I've already like pasted the command, the terminate option, Kali Linux. So once you do this, it would say operation completed successfully and it would have stopped running. So I would see if there are any more messages, Swapnil. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Another tip which I gave for people who would start using this and would be irritated by the fact that they can't copy paste it is to actually use to press down on the shift button. Like, let me demonstrate it once again. So let me shift change directory to downloads and let me open vi test 1234 dot text. vi is the vim editor, so I click on I, which is insert, and I type a lot of things. So once I type the whole thing, now I'm pissed that I can't copy paste it like how I do it on Windows. Control copy and it's not pasting, like it's not able to copy the whole thing. So what I do is I press down on the shift button on my computer, select the whole thing, control copy it, and now it's copied the entire thing. So now I can paste this on GPT or whatever that I'm about to do. So that's about it for the introduction. I hope this time the speed was like better or something. And I've already pasted this in the chat box for people like who want to refer to it once again later on. So yeah, are there any doubts? I hope it was proper this time, the speed and everything.
Okay, so adding on to Swapnil's demonstration, there are some interesting things about WSL, and I will also actually tell about the questions which are in the chat. So, first of all, can WSL run on lower end systems? Yeah, it's comparatively not. Okay, I will rephrase it. It's very light on the computer, so it's not as heavy as a VM. So even lower ended systems, WSL can be run on them. Okay. Next thing about WSL. So what we have seen in this demonstration is WSL2. Now the thing about WSL2 is it can only be run on Windows 11 or some updated versions of Windows 10. So before you download WSL2, make sure that either you have Windows 11 or your Windows 10 is full up to date. Next thing is, if you actually can't upgrade it, you can always go to WSL1. And yeah, WSL1 is quite good as well. One more interesting bit is, when you actually run WSL, you can also download the distros and set up their environment itself. So you can even use the GUI of different OS on your Windows itself while you're using WSL. We'll be pasting a video about it, so you can easily go through it. The Also, there are some more questions. I will try to address them. What's recommended WSL or VM for systems which are kinda lacking in hardware? See, Pranay, if you're starting out in cybersecurity, I would suggest that you should upgrade your system a little bit. It's not about using different OS. It's about having a vulnerable machine. I'll be back in 1 second. Sorry, my bad. So it's not about coming back to Pranay's question. It's, if you are starting out in cybersecurity, it's not about having a different OS, but rather having a machine which is vulnerable. When you have a machine which is vulnerable, you can test out different ways to breach its security and to try hacking them. That's why I would, if you're starting out with cybersecurity field, I would rather suggest you upgrade your system a bit and download VMs. VMs are better in this criteria. You can't actually breach the security of your WSL because your WSL is working on the same OS. It's just a different file system. So you can think of it as a OS and WSL is built on it. So it's like a small sub system. That's what the definition of WSL, full form of WSL is. Windows subsystem for Linux. It's a subsystem. So if you want to go into cybersecurity, VMs are your way to go. Next question. One question I read above is what the advantage of setting up. Okay, this has been addressed. Amog asked, wouldn't using containers be better than VMs due to less utilization of resources? Okay. Uh, Again, containers are different from virtual machines. Virtual machines are actually mm, different machines hosted on your machine. So it is a different environment itself. I assume you're talking about Docker containers, right? So, okay, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, I will go. Containers, the Docker containers are, yeah, they use less resources. Why they use less resources? Because they are using again the same OS. It's faster. Uses less resources because it is running on the same OS. And you can't actually, whenever you actually try the container, you will recognize you can't change your OS, right? The OS in the container. That's because it's working on the same OS. Rather, if you use a virtual machine, you can actually change your OS. If I'm using Windows, I can use tons and tons of different. I can use any. I have so much variety in what OS I want in my virtual machine. I can use Ubuntu. I can use Kali. I can use Parrot. I can use anything. That's where virtual machines have an edge because as cybersecurity people, we will need a system which is which is entirely different, which has entirely different resources than our main hosting OS, right? I can give an example even like when you download a VM, it will ask you to allot memory, right? Why is it doing so? Because you are allotting some amount of memory for only that VM. So it's only gonna use that part, and that part will be isolated for only VM's use. Okay. Any more questions? Amog is asking about Docker itself storing the OS as containers in cloud would be better than VMs in system. That's what I feel though. If it's storing the OS as container in cloud, I guess, but most of the people over here are just starting out, so I think VMs would be the way to go. Also, using uh, storing it as containers in cloud would be much less efficient, I think, because then again, if your computer is, I'm not entirely sure about it, but that's what I think. If your VM is using the resources on your computer, it will be considerably faster to do processes on it. Any more questions? Forgot to. Okay, if no one has any more questions, we would like to bring our session to conclusion. Also, about the future sessions, we are actually planning quite a bit of things. I will like to ask Swayam to bring light on what we are actually planning or what exciting things we are planning on our future sessions.
Yeah, I'll share about the future sessions that we will be planning to do. It will be in the near future. So the thing we might do in sessions is core concepts which are prerequisite and which are essential in cybersecurity and learning of cybersecurity. What this actually means is like learning about networking, learning about operating system. This today's session was just an educational session, so we didn't include a lot of technical terms and all. But in future, you might be getting words like IP addressing, what are IP, etc., etc. So we'll be covering that in future sessions. And next point is various tools related to cybersecurity and ethical hacking. So there are many tools in Kali Linux. Today we helped you with setting up your own lab. Now you can explore with the tools, you can understand the working, but we will be telling this about this and giving a proper working on how it works and uh, what are the stuff that you can do other than using the normal application. And the third one is showing some demo on how hackers abuse the pre-existing protocol and what are countermeasures to it. This will be learning in the future sessions. So I hope today's meeting was a helpful one. So thank you guys for attending our webinar. These are the members of our secuRIT club. And now we'll be taking up the questions. If you have any doubts regarding anything, you can let us know in the comments. We'll be taking it soon. So thank you. Thank you for attending.
Yeah, Pranay, you may speak.
Pranay, you can unmute yourself and ask anything you want to ask. I guess if we We can address your questions later, Pranay, if you can't unmute yourself right now. Uh, we might as well go ahead with ending the session. Swam, you can take it away.
Thank you. So we'll be ending the sessions now. And if you guys have questions that are not answered, or you might feel hesitant while asking, you can send us the DM or you can send in the Telegram group as well. So thank you for the session. I hope this might have helped you in some way or the other. And if not, then future sessions will surely will. So thank you. Thank you very much for
Thank you
attending the session.
everyone for attending now. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for sticking by till the very last minute, whoever has stick by. Thank you very much for attending our inaugural session. Thank you.